Good morning, everybody. Unless it's like, I don't know, 5 p.m. or something, then in that case, go fuck yourself. Today I have for you something kinda nifty, all the way from the 50s. So this is the condensing fan from an old GE refrigerator from likely the 50s. I'm not sure which model of GE fridge this came from, but it would be nice if somebody knows and they could let me know, because I'm just curious as to what the fridge this thing came from looked like. So one thing you'll notice about this is that it's entirely made out of steel, unlike today's condensing fans in refrigerators, typically made out of plastic with a DC motor. But this is good old-fashioned spinning rust. This is an AC induction motor, a shaded pole motor very likely. Not very torquey, but, you know, not really necessary for a fan. So a little bit of backstory on this. So I actually found this cemented into the wall of my house. There used to be a bar there, and I'm guessing they had like a toaster oven or something there too, and they needed an exhaust fan. So instead of just using that window right above them, they ripped this out of the fridge that was presumably in this house, and then they cemented these little feet into the wall. And then they put like a shutter on the other side, and on the inside too, so that cold air, you could shut it so that cold air wouldn't get in during the winter, and hot air wouldn't get in during the summer, that sort of thing. The idiots put it on a dimmer switch that was in the fuse box. The fuse box was located right next to this bar, so that's why they put it there. Kind of weird, but yeah, I know. And yeah, obviously you can't use a dimmer on an AC motor, or at least you shouldn't. And luckily that didn't damage anything. I guess they used it at full speed all the time anyways. It is awfully quiet. No need to use anything other than full speed. Later, when renovating the house, it was decided that we were just gonna, put drywall over this and leave it as it is. But I decided that's stupid. It's there, let's use it for something. So I took a hammer and chisel and broke it free. And then I screwed it to a piece of wood, which wasn't this initially. It was just a little piece of 2x4 just so I could stick it in the window. It was very crude. Not to say that this isn't crude. This is terrible too. I could have put miter joints here or something, but I didn't really think that far ahead because I just needed an exhaust fan quick to get the construction dust out of here. So I don't know how easily it can be seen, but I believe this is a 1550 RPM motor, as it's written right there. There's the model number, but any attempts to Google it have come up with nothing. Can run on 50 to 60 hertz, which is kind of odd. You'd think on 50 hertz it might run quite a bit slower, since this is an induction motor, which is reliant on the frequency for rotational speed. It says 9W, but that can't be the wattage. There's no fucking way. Clockwise, yeah, it spins clockwise. Not from this end, though. Continuous rated, as expected for a refrigerator. And something interesting about this little dome here is that this is actually sort of like an oil sump type of thing. This fan has an oil pump in it, and that, I believe, is the secret to its longevity. That's why it's still working after all this time. And I find that to be kind of amazing, because my 4-stroke engine that is on my bike doesn't even have an oil pump. And it's not even a cheap Chinese engine. It's a Tecumseh engine. Not that that really means anything in terms of quality, but you know. So anyways, I took the liberty of drawing a terrible diagram that won't explain anything probably, of how the oiling system in this fan works. So it relies on a spiral baffle on the shaft, or a spiral cut on the shaft, sort of like what the fridge compressors have in them. Actually, they have like a hollow shaft with a spiral baffle on the inside that when it spins, it picks up the oil and brings it up to all the bearings and splashes it around and shit. Now this is kind of the opposite. The cutouts are on the shaft, but it does the same thing. It picks up the oil from these wicks over here, and actually this is the wick for this fan. I don't have it in the picture, but it's kind of right in front of these other wicks. This is the removable one, sort of. And so this wick, which is soaked in oil, feeds this other wick that is right up against the motor housing on the inside, and it feeds the bearing. And this spins in such a way that the threads are moving outwards towards the back of the fan this way. And the oil, which is carried this way, obviously lubricates the bearing and then comes out the end there and gets flung off the sides into the sides of this wick, repeating the cycle over and over again. I think I put that arrow for the direction of rotation on backwards, so just pretend it's facing the other way. Well, this is what we'll be trying to figure out. Now you're probably wondering, the fan is all together and the wick is out here. What gives? So, pull up a chair, kids. I'm going to tell you a little story. So, when I was rebuilding, so this fan had an oil leak, right? Because this dome, it looks kind of beaten up. It's because it is. It got bent and then the oil all leaked out. So I had to do an oil change. So I took the wick out and everything to clean it up. And I refilled it with some, I use sewing machine oil. I'm not sure if that's correct, but don't use engine oil. So anyways, so I refilled this and then I lost the wick. I looked around everywhere and I couldn't find this thing. I couldn't find this thing for the life of me. I searched the house. I even put this on hold for a week just to make absolute sure. I retraced all my steps and I could not find this. So what I did was I bought some felt from the good old Dollar Tree and I cut out a circle roughly the size of this. Like I just eyeballed it. I got it almost exactly somehow. Also sort of referenced the actual motor with this. And I think it was, in the end, it was something like 10 or 11 discs of felt. And then I had them sewed together. Then I stuck the wick in there. And then I slapped the cover on with some gasket maker. Well, I put the gasket maker first, and then I slapped the cover on. And then I found this on the floor. So with all that aside, let's just take a look at the frame then, I guess. So this is very crudely put together. I could have put miter joints and things here, but it was scrap wood. So the house was being renovated and the hardwood floor was being replaced, and this is what was left over of the floor. This is an engineered wood floor with, like, I forget the material, the hardest wood, whatever it is, maple or something, I forget, I don't really care. So an interesting thing about this, which wasn't intentional, but every piece of this fan has come from this house in some way, shape, or form. This handle came from the garage cabinets that were already here when we moved in. This metal plate for the switch came from our VCR. The switch itself was on the side of our old Lennox furnace. The wood, obviously the new floor. The terminal block, I think, was from the same furnace. This power cord came from our old water softener, and the water softener is still there, but it's never been used because where we live, the water is really clean. I don't even know why the idiots who lived here before bothered installing that thing. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, and the fan itself. This was built into the walls of the house, and it was likely in a fridge that was in the house earlier in the 50s. Also, I know it's kind of late now to mention this, but the fan spins this way and blows air this way, not this way. And this side is made nice and flat without the blades protruding out so that it can be stuck in a standard horizontal sliding window. Also, this is not finished yet. I need to put like a bracket or something here. I've just got electrical tape holding it in the meantime. Also, that's kind of sketchy. I need to cover that with steel plate and ground it or some shit like that. And also, this isn't so good. All the wiring and stuff happen after, and then, I don't know, the whole thing is kind of crude. Whatever, it works. This is a really good fan. I'm not getting rid of this. It's nice, powerful, and quiet. It's only got one speed, which is kind of annoying sometimes because it's too powerful. Also sort of late to mention, but the blade diameter is 8.5 inches, give or take. And the blade pitch is extremely aggressive. And this is made out of some nice thick steel. Also, interestingly enough, I believe GE still makes this motor. I'm not sure if it's got the exact same, horsepower ratings and RPM ratings or whatnot, but I have seen this on eBay. And as recently as, it's not that recent now, is it? Like 2009. I disassembled a refrigerator. Obviously much newer than this one from the 50s, but still pretty old by today. Actually, I think the fridge was from like the 80s or something. I don't think what I'm talking about even counts anymore. But anyways, you can still find it on Amazon. So as far as I know, it's still being manufactured. No, anyways, the one that I found was obviously not painted black, nor was it rusty. It was actually silver, but it was the same sort of thing. It had the same oil pump type thing on the inside, but it had a smaller blade that was made out of aluminum, almost like this one, but with the same mounting system here. Oh, by the way, I didn't think I mentioned, but this actually has like a rubber bushing type thing in between the blade and the shaft to isolate vibrations, which is a really nice feature. And of course, the newer one that I've seen also has that same everything, same dimensions, same fan blade mounting system, everything is the same. Except I don't think they use this bracket anymore. Also, I'd like to note that I selected this switch because it's really satisfying to flip. It's got a nice ka-chunk to it. And anyone who knows me knows that I like a good ka-chunk switch. And if you're wondering about the labels, I recently got gifted a label printer, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. I've just been sticking labels on fucking everything. Anyways, without further ado, let's plug it in. By the way, the cord, the power cord and the plug and everything, that's also made in Canada. You can tell because it's kind of weird. But yeah, let's plug it in. Oops, switch was already on. That's no fun. It's got a nice startup sound. And depending on what it's sitting on, you can hear the 60 hertz hum. Let's put it on this flimsy LE clothes washer. LG, sorry. Very powerful, and it has a very long range, probably due to the aggressive pitch on the fan blades. This thing served as my window fan for many years, until we got those stupid crank handle windows that you can't put a fan in anymore. Spin down time is pretty good too. Probably because of that oil pump, the oil lubricated bearings, active oil lubrication in the bearing. Actually, it has actually I don't think I explained that, but I think this only has like one long bearing, bushing, whatever, instead of one at both ends of the shaft. So, design flaws. So number one, I have a dog. And that dog loves to stick his nose in things. And that's kind of a problem with this. I haven't gotten around to getting any mesh or anything to put on this yet. And if I'm going to continue the theme of building this out of things from the house, I'm going to have to pull it out of the walls somewhere. Design flaw number 2. As already discussed, it's only got one speed and it's too powerful. I could use like some kind of triac bullshit to get it to work, but I don't really feel like it. And problem number 3. I cannot remember problem number 3. I will come back in a second. Okay, problem number 3. Sometimes I use this at night beside my bed when I sleep. And then when I feel like turning it off because it's too cold, because it only has one speed, I will reach for the switch in the darkness. And sometimes what happens is this. This is a problem because, first of all, I haven't even unplugged it. And second of all, I haven't insulated that switch very well. So sometimes my fingers come in contact with that. And all of a sudden, I'm not sleepy anymore. And if I stick my finger there long enough, I'll be too sleepy. I might not even wake up. And also, sometimes, my hands go straight into the fan blade here, and these are made out of metal. They're not very forgiving. Not like today's plastic fan blades. This has got some momentum to it. Motor may not be very powerful, but this got a lot of stored energy in it, I'll tell you that. So, I'll address all these issues. Someday at some point, I don't know, maybe I'll install a GFCI in the wall so that this doesn't kill me. Instead of just putting a fucking grill on this. I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching and have some fun under the sun.